Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out these headlines. We've got John Deaton and Jeremy Hogan discussing the SEC versus Ripple case, asking some of the most important questions you could ask to this day. We've got that and so much more. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter for exclusive content. Right now, $1.22 trillion market cap for cryptocurrency. The market is up 4.2% today. Good afternoon. Bitcoin, $28,330 and change. Ethereum, $1,804 and change. And we see Tether market cap at $79.6 billion plus. We'll keep an eye on it. 55 cents currently right now on CoinGecko. It's up 9.2 for XRP, 9.2% on the 24-hour and 16.9% on the 7-day. However, we've got 56.56 for XRP on Fiat Link. We'll keep an eye on it. It's been as high today as 59 cents. We will keep an eye on it. XRP is out here bumping around, ladies and gentlemen. Head on a swivel. This is a quick clip here. Shout out to Mason Versilus for this. Sorry, Mason, if I messed up your last name. I should probably get to know you so I could say it without messing it up. Anyway, shout out to Mason. Breaking Casper partnership with XRP. Ripple could be coming soon. And you know what? We'll have to see. But let's listen to the clip here towards the end.
They are similar, and you also know that for some of these blockchains, we already have the employees at association or Casper Labs, they were cooperating, or maybe they were even part of these communities in the past. So hopefully with that we can bring this all together and start working, since we are all blockchain. Yeah, we are all the family that is very much concerned and interested to push this initiative forward. I don't see this as competition. I think we can create a very rich ecosystem that would be multi-chain and where everyone can find its own niche.
Yeah, it's not a competition. It's like we all bakers to make a bigger cake.
Correct.
Okay.
What a great way to say it. And they talk about the synergy that they met with Ripple, and they talk about the coexisting between Casper and Ripple and XRP Ledger. So I don't know if it's a full-on partnership at this point, other than a synergy and a coexisting. And I think those are great words too. And I love the fact that there are ways that they can coexist and have a great synergy between one another. We'll look further to see if they do actually develop a full-on partnership. Shout out to Kevin Cage for that original clip on that. I just wanted to share it. Casper's one of those things that I keep hearing about and I want to know more about, should know more about it, but I don't know more about it. So we're going to definitely get inspired by Mason and Kevin Cage to look at more of that. So John Deaton shares here. He shares Rand Nooner here tweet, which says a new bill in the U.S., and listen to this closely, ladies and gentlemen, proposes that a new minimum 20-year sentence and a $250,000 fine for using a VPN to access any app that the government decided to ban. A gentle reminder to the Americans what has become to their land of the free. John Deaton says, if the fact that we have leaders in the United States pushing this bill doesn't scare you, then you don't truly appreciate freedom. And I don't think you could say it any better. John Deaton's got it here. This should scare the living hell out of all of us that it's even being considered on the Hill at all. This here is a clip from CoinDesk. And boy, I tell you, I'm not so sure they were expecting the answer they got. But shout out to, is it Bill L.S. Little? I think it is. And I don't know. Bilal. Sorry. So Bilal, excuse me. I've just messed up someone else's name. But Bilal lays it down here. And why am I not following this guy? I'm going to do it right now. And he lays down some important information from CoinDesk that you normally wouldn't hear from them at all. Take a listen to this.
And you also actually seen a pop with XRP, right? Which is another interesting component of this whole conversation, because when you look at efficiency and moving capital around the globe with our banking system, that's a very, very important aspect of the settlement side of things. And what's happening there is a lot of interesting insights as far as contracts, partnerships that have already laid the groundwork, that's playing nicely with regulators. And I think that's the other side of this conversation that we haven't had yet.
Yeah, I was actually just going to ask you about XRP, which just surged to a 5-month high, even amidst all this turmoil. But isn't that possibly just about the potential coming resolution to the SEC XRP case, which has been brewing for a while? And I mean, that's how I read that surge.
Love his response. Take a listen.
Yeah, I think that's one piece of it. But for whatever reason, I like to unpack a little more of the conversation. And here's the other part. Whether they win or they lose, it doesn't matter, to be honest with you. They still have those long-term institutional partnerships in which they will still be able to move value across the internet. And in my personal opinion about this, and the way I think about this, is if they are made an example of, it's still not a bad thing, right? The world is stage. Let's kind of quote Shakespeare thinking about that. It's all right. Rather they win or rather they lose, they're still going to be able to play a pivotal role representing Bank of America and several other large institutions in moving capital around the world, providing liquidity to both those small and regional financial institutions. I think that's what we're seeing on the back end.
Well, I tell you what, that's something you won't hear CoinDesk ever say. They have been so negative or just completely absent when it comes to the Ripple or XRP or covering the case, because when they do cover it, they cover it so negatively, you can tell that they don't like it. But I tell you what, Bilal sets the record straight. Shout out to him. Maybe I'll reach out to him, see if he wants to come on the show here. All right, now look, I tell you what, these are two all-stars in this space right here. It's John Deaton and Jeremy Hogan. Yeah, and they start going round and round about this SEC versus Ripple case. This might be the most important few minutes you're going to watch, because they really get down into what they know about this case and what could go to a jury trial and what may not. Very important here. Let me get it keyed up for all of us here. And it is remarkable, this exchange, and I want to thank these two gentlemen for it. Both of these gentlemen will be participating in XRP Las Vegas. If you have not got your tickets, I encourage you to do so. Make sure you get your tickets. This event is absolutely going to sell out very quickly here, if I could. 37 days and counting. This event is going to sell out. There's only 20 discounted rooms left available. Do not mess around, because that's it. And there's less than, I think, 60 tickets at this point left to come to this conference. It absolutely will sell out, so make sure you get your tickets today. Do not mess around. There's going to be a Q&A, too. You're going to get to ask John Deaton what you want to ask. I mean, this is going to be a remarkable moment and opportunity for all of us to come together and solidify these relationships and the support we've had for one another and Ripple and XRP, by the way, for so many years. Let's take a listen.
I want to. You brought up a jury just now, Jeremy. You said that if you get in front of a jury such as Coinbase, and you made a point to tell the audience in the past that Ripple, in their summary judgment motions and their reply to the SEC summary judgment, they stated that the fair notice issue is a jury issue. And so what I want to do is, we're all right now waiting on Judge Torres's decision. Our friend Jimmy Filan, he said early on that he thought maybe by the end of March or around that time. He was spot on when it came to the Daubert motion. I've looked at previous rulings of her, and her decision has ranged from the same time as the Daubert motion to a couple months after the Daubert motion. So the first question is, do you think it could come down any day as far as her decision?
Yeah, well, to be truthful, I thought mid-March, so I'm already out of the running for accuracy here. So I think that I think Jim's prediction was based on I guess that 6-month rule, which since we were looking at it, I've looked at the actual rule, and it's a little bit different than what I thought it was. It's not like a motion is filed on a certain date, and 6 months later there's a list of pending motions that haven't been ruled on yet. It looks like it's done a little bit differently. So I think as far as March 15 or March 31, there's no hard time cutoff here. I think we're just going based upon what the judge has done in the past, and I think your research is probably the best, which on average, it's probably, around a month or two after the Dauber motion or in that range. But there's no hard and fast time cutoff. So it could come at any time, but it could come in April. It doesn't have to be in March.
And I got to tell you, I'm getting a little nervous because, and I say nervous because you and I and others, we've never said that Ripple's going to get an outright win or anything, but we've certainly poked holes at the SEC's case. I went on record to say I think that she's going to deny the SEC summary judgment as the way they've requested it. But now, just yesterday or today, Kathy Wood predicted a Ripple win from ARK Investment. She's a very smart woman. And you're seeing others now picking wins. And I always prefer the underdog role, Jeremy, to be honest with you. So I'm not gonna ask you, a prediction, but I want to end with this jury question issue, because I've said that I think that we've underestimated the potential, because most securities cases are decided at summary judgment. The judge has the undisputed facts, but it seems to me, and you've tweeted this out, and I think you've rushed in the video, that there seems to be some disputed facts here. And so we have three basic elements in the Howey case. And the first one is, everybody knows, is an investment of money. Do you think that is an issue that she could send to the jury because of the expert that was excluded? And what do you mean about that?
I don't think so. People could have different opinions. I don't think that would be the issue that would be sent out for a jury trial. I think those issues all could be decided by a judge. I mean, just for the viewers, you need a jury when you have to weigh this testimony and decide which one is more credible. And that's really what you need a jury for. And I don't think that the investment of money prong is the thing that will be sent to a jury.
Okay. What about the second factor is obviously the common enterprise. And it's something that you and I've poked holes at, and others have as well, of the SEC's theory. Do you think that there's enough for her to decide on common enterprise, or do you think that could be a factor sent to a jury?
I don't think that's the one either. I think that the Reddit case is pretty clear, and we have 10, 12 judges in the past in the crypto space that we can look at that have made that decision based upon the facts in front of them. So I don't think that's the one either. Okay,
and then it's a two-pronged test. That's why some people call it a 4-factor test and some people call it a 3-factor. And the first prong of the third is a reasonable expectation of profit derived from the efforts of Ripple, basically. What about that factor? Is that one that you think could be teed up for a jury or no?
That's the one I think would be the one. If she's going to send it to a jury, I think that would be the one because of your work. We have a lot of we have affidavits that were submitted. We have counter facts from the SEC, not many, but there are some there. And so if I was the judge and I said, you know what, I'm not going to rule on this, this is going to go to a jury, this is probably the thing that I want the jury to rule on. What did an XRP purchaser back in 2017 think when he or she was buying XRP?
Okay. Now, and then obviously we talked about fair notice. Do you agree with Ripple that if she were to say that Ripple sold XRP as an investment contract in a certain period of time, do you think then it's a jury trial on whether Ripple had fair notice, or do you think the judge could summarily decide one way or the other that they did or didn't have fair notice?
It's a good question. I mean, Ripple obviously took a risk because they didn't argue fair notice other than to say it's an issue of fact for the jury to decide. I think let me just hedge my bets a little here. If the judge does send it to the jury, it'll be the SEC's fault because they brought in Larson and the other executive, I can't remember, Garlinghouse, I'm sorry. So, yeah, they brought in Garlinghouse and Larson, and
you conveniently forget the guy that can only revel your facial hair.
He's only the CEO, right? So anyway, because they brought him in, what the fair notice defense as to what they were thinking and when they were selling their XRP, I think lends itself to something that a jury could decide. And when you have a piece of the case going to trial, judges always think of judicial efficiency, right? So they're more likely to send the other piece, which is the Ripple piece, also to trial and say, you know what, since we're going to have a jury figure out what Larson and Garlinghouse were thinking about back in those days, we're also going to let's let them also figure out what Ripple was doing back in those days as well.
Which goes back to something that I think you and I agreed on very early in the case, which was charging the two executives in a non-fraud case was a very big mistake.
Absolutely. I'm with you on that. I think the SEC, if they could go back in time, I think would also probably want to undo that.
All right, and we're going to wrap up, Jeremy, but my final question, I guess, is are you surprised now that there hasn't been a settlement? And if you're surprised, do you attribute it to politics and agenda, or what do you attribute it to? Because I believe that if this case was about enforcing securities laws, it would have settled a long time ago. That's my personal opinion. So what do you think?
I thought the case would settle back in 2021, but I was naive. And as I kind of learned and looked at more cases that the SEC was involved in, I mean, all you have to do is look at this library transcript hearing. And the SEC does not operate like a regular litigant. Obviously, it's not their money. They don't care. So it's not like when I litigate against an insurance company, that insurance company has to answer to its shareholders. Why did we spend $1 million fighting over a $10,000 case? They have to explain that. The SEC obviously doesn't have to explain why they're doing what they're doing to whomever. And so they don't operate like a regular litigant. And so the more I learn about the SEC, the more I realize that they have their own agenda and they don't have to explain it to anyone. They operate kind of in a vacuum and they're not answering to anyone. So I think that's a big problem. And obviously Ripple went to SEC. This is not a surprise and this is not a secret. Early on in the case, or even before the case was filed, and said, or I'm sorry, after the case was filed, and said, what can we do to make this go away? We want to IPO. We want to move forward with our business. What can we do to make this go away? And the SEC came back with something that Ripple just couldn't agree to. I have a feeling it had to do with registering every sale of XRP moving forward from that point. And Ripple's business model just can't support that, because you can't register every sale that you're going to make in a decentralized ledger. Just not going to work.
Yeah, so, I don't think the ODL platform warrants itself for registering every single sale to a customer who then ultimately might even sell it back to Ripple.
It defeats the purpose of the whole platform. So
absolutely. I'm not going to put you on the spot and ask you what everyone wants to know, which is, will there be another Legal Briefs video in the future? I just tell you that I know I'm back. I represent, as you know, 76,000 plus people. There's not many times I could say that I speak for all of them on a single issue, but I know I speak for them all when I say we want to see Legal Briefs back, at least an encore version, okay?
Absolutely, and I completely endorse that as one of the XRP holders that John Deaton is representing. And shout out to both of those gentlemen. One of the interesting statements in there that got me is when John Deaton said, if I thought this was just about securities law, this case would have been settled long ago. Well, do I want to get a hold of John Deaton now and ask him what he meant by that? But until then, I thank both of these gentlemen for their incredible insights, and I tell you what insights they are. Where would we be without the insights of these gentlemen and the leadership of John Deaton, representing over 76,000 of all of us? Look, that's going to do it for me. Decision anytime, any day, any week. We're all excited. Price is moving. What do we got to be upset about at this point? Not much. Get your ticket for XRP Las Vegas. This is one incredible community, and we've got one incredible weekend lined up for all of you to celebrate each and every one of you and your efforts and all of the incredible projects built using the XRP ledger. We'll catch all of you on the next one.